I am Donika.
And I am Myra, and this is a Black Women Healing Podcast.
A space to discuss mental wellness.
A space to dive into soul care and vulnerability.
Here, we will support you on your journey as you focus on your healing,
while also giving you the work along the way.
Welcome to Black Women Healing Podcast. Hey y'all, I am here to announce that our book, Let's Heal, a workbook designed for Black women with various modalities by your co-hosts Donika and Myra, is now at a storefront. And so the storefront is Urbana Goods. It's a community store that brings an upgraded experience of connecting with the community with small crafting gatherings and workshops and supporting other local businesses by housing and selling their merchandise, such as us. And they even sell some of your typical items from the local convenience store. Like y'all, I literally bought some body butter, hair products, and a cute purse, all from this store, just to give you a little example. So when you have some time, check out Urbana Goods. It's located in Gardena, California. The actual address is 1756 West El Segundo, Gardena, California, 90249. You can put it in your GPS, whatever you need to do, but go ahead and make your way there and check us out.
Hey y'all, we're back with another episode of Black Women Healing Podcast. And before we get started, we do want to share a trigger warning as we will be having a difficult conversation about suicide awareness. All right, so making sure that y'all understand trigger warning before you deep dive into this episode. All right, so we have been doing something a little bit different. And I feel like we're going to say that every episode because we have not adjusted to it. But we've been sharing about a quote and we've been dissecting the quote. So my best friend loves Shonda Rhimes. So in honor of my best friend, Terry, her quote is, "If I don't poke my head out of my shell and show people who I am, all anyone will ever think I am is my shell." Don't you think of that quote?
Ooh, yeah, that's a little deep.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I just see a turtle in a shell. I just see a turtle like closed in the shell and the head never coming out. You like, is this turtle? Is this something in there or not? Right? Like, where's the substance? And so it's kind of like everybody has, substance to them, right? Whatever it looks like. And I think that this is for those folks who don't allow that whatever substance to come out, whether it's different from people, whether it's not seen as like the norm or whatever. It's like, that's getting out of the shell, whatever that looks like. So that's what I'm thinking of. What about you?
Me, Myra, or me? I don't want to say her name no more.
Say my name.
Oh,
say my name.
Candea.
Candea.
Yep. What you thinking?
Oh, you know what? It's for me, it's like I think about the shell and what it represents is like protection, right? Mm-hmm. And then so what I'm like is like people are protecting what's most important to them. Mm-hmm. And they're afraid that the world might have an idea about it, right? And but you can't ever get to know anybody or know anybody really unless you come out. Right? Because all they see is that shell. You're protecting yourself too hard. Says, come or bro, come out. You know what I mean? Let us see you. Let us see what's in there, right? Because I agree with Donika. There is substance in there, but that shell has been protecting you for so long. You just can't. You want to peek out, but it maybe doesn't feel safe, right? Yeah. And I love turtles. This is weird, but I love them. They be out in the street, and I'm like, don't you run over that turtle. You better come over here. So I'll get him to safety. But as soon as you pick up that turtle, his whole body just goes in, right? But as he's walking across the street, he's fine. He's minding his own business. He's doing his own thing. So it's like, for me, I think about that's what comes to my brain when I think about it. Like, what is it that shell protects? Yeah. And what kind of environment makes a turtle want to come out of its shell?
Yeah.
And who is that environment?
Yeah. I think I agree with you too. It makes me think about like, when we meet someone, we have assumptions about them, and it's up to us to shift those assumptions, to say they're accurate or say they're not. But if you don't allow yourself to step into that space, all people are left with are the assumptions about you. They don't get to know the real you. So that's where my mind goes. So we have a special guest today. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce her. She's very special to me. Candea Mosley is a registered associate marriage and family therapist who identifies as a Black American woman. She received her MS in counseling from San Diego State University with an emphasis on marriage and family therapy. Additionally, Candea received training at a local nonprofit agency that serves Middle Eastern immigrants and refugees who have experienced trauma and domestic violence. She works in private practice in San Diego, California, and teaches in the Counseling and Social Change minor at San Diego State University. In her work, she is open to discussing complex topics such as race, suicide, homicide, sexual assault, or abuse from a post-structural lens, mainly using a solution-focused, collaborative, and narrative framework. We are very honored to have you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I really wanted to discuss this topic today because I feel like we don't talk about it enough in the Black community. And to kick us off, I just want to share a little bit about an article. Late night, sometimes I just start researching like random stuff. And this was something that I came across. I saved it. It's from the New York Times. And it says, for more than a decade, suicide rates have been increasing in Black children and adolescents. And a new study says that sharpest rise occurs among young girls. Mm-hmm. The study had been published on a Thursday in the Journal of the American Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry, and it found that just over 1,800 Black children had died by suicide between 2003 and 2017. And while most of the deaths were among boys, especially those between ages 15 and 17, the gender gap is narrowing. The suicide rate of the girls increased an average of 6.6% each year, more than twice the increase for boys. Nearly 40% of the girls were 12 to 14 years old, indicating that this age group may need additional attention or different types of intervention. Now, this is just for the children. They have some numbers here. When I was doing Black women in particular, they didn't really have specific numbers and the research was not as backed. So I didn't want to share those articles because I don't know how true they are, but they also talked about how the growing rate is increasing for Black women. And we're just starting to have these conversations when that model had died by suicide most recently. I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with. So Candea was doing a workshop and I got this email that she was doing it. And I was like, I know we've had these conversations like in the privacy of your home on your couch. But when I saw she was having these conversations with everybody, I was like, okay, well, then you need to come on over to Black Women Healing Potty to have these conversations with me and Danica. So that's where we are today. So Danica, I'll let you take over.
Yeah, so this first question is just us, getting to know you a little bit more. So can you tell us how you decided to share about your journey?
Yeah. So obviously I have these conversations on my couch in private and closed doors, right? Like, hence a lot of folks are having these conversations behind closed doors or not having them at all. And so my journey starts off with just 2022 being like a very like pivotal year for me, like super like I and let me just rewind. Like, suicide has been a part of my life since I was a little girl, since I was maybe like 7 or 8. My grandmother completed suicide when I was 8 years old. So like suicide has always been a part of my life. I've always known about it. And I will say, like, when I was 8, I thought about suicide very differently, through an anger lens. Like, how dare you do this to me? I can't believe this is happening. And then y'all know what happened? Life start to life for me.
At 8?
Yeah, big time. Because the way my mom handled the death of her mother it has a trickle down effect. Right. So there was a lot of anger that I had for my grandmother about, like, how could you do this to us? How could you leave us? How could the ripple effects of suicide was very present in my world. And so, but then as I started to grow up and I started to like see how the world was, see what life was like, see how hard life was. And I grew up in and I'll spare everybody all the sad details, but I didn't have an easy life. And so there was always this like looming like suicide walking right alongside me at every given turn because life was
I'm
so
sorry to cut
hard.
you off. I just want to clarify because I feel like I missed something or maybe I didn't. Your grandmother passed away by suicide?
Yes.
Oh.
When I was 8.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
that's crazy. Okay.
yeah. So it's like, this is not something that's like but my family, being from a very Black family, like, they insulated that information. Like, of course, we're not going to talk about it. We didn't have no conversations about it. Like, my mother would try to make sense of it in any other kind of way besides what it was, which also created a little bit of like, okay, we don't talk about this. We don't talk about it, but it's still with me, right? Like, it impacted me in a lot of ways. And so as I grew up and my life was just lifing in general, like things were happening as an adolescent girl, like lots of trauma, lots of things. And so it was like, always right there, always an option, always with me, not a thought, but like a reality.
Mm-hmm.
And so as I was doing that and life was lifing, it made me change the relationship I had to the anger I had with my grandmother and shifted it into a more like, yo, life was really hard for her.
Mm-hmm.
And she made a decision to do this very big thing that caused all this stuff in my life. And it changed from a more like anger, mad, to more empathetic understanding, as I was also struggling with some of this lifing happening, right? And so when I think about what it made me do to share is 2022. I don't know if y'all remember Miss America had completed suicide in 2022. Yep. Chesley Christ.
Mm-hmm.
And she was Miss North Carolina. I lived in North Carolina for 11 years. Lots of like parallels in our the way our shell, it's interesting that you use that, the way that our masks are. Like, for people who know me, they know me as I'm funny, I like to have a good time, I'm all this, but yet suicide is still always like, there's something about life that I have a disconnect to. Like, it's hard, it's and so in 2022, highest, like I'm killing it in the game, right? I'm writing, I graduated with my master's, I am working in private practice, I'm living the best life, I'm married, I have kids, I have a grandkid, like life is really good. And yet I just couldn't, like, that little piece of me just was not, it just was so big. And then I started having conversations, because here's the thing, I'm a therapist. Mm-hmm. And all of us are kind of we're all therapists here, right? And so we know what our legal and ethical obligations are when it comes to this topic, right? When somebody says like they have a plan, or they have, what happens? You got to do something, you got to respond. You have to, make sure you take care of them. And that's not right or wrong. But for me, what that looks like is being put in handcuffs. And I've already been traumatized enough in my life, child. I'm not trying to do all that. So even though I was in therapy, there was just I couldn't share this very big part of myself. And it's not like it's just a big part of my existence and who I am and how I think about life in general. I can't share that with my therapist, because if I do, well, we know what the dealio is for that. Mm. So I didn't. Which was very isolating.
What age
right?
is this at? What age is this at that you're talking about with the therapist?
Oh, like 44.
Oh,
like
so
this is
ask that because with your personality, I'm thinking about like, because when you said it, I knew you were talking about this age, right? Mm-hmm. But when you said you couldn't share with a therapist, my mind automatically went to you were under 18 and it wasn't safe. But then my mind went back to knowing who you are as a person. You want to be strong all the time and you don't want anybody to know.
Correct.
Wow. Is that why you couldn't tell the therapist? Because you kind of glanced over it and my mind was kind of confused. So I need for other people to hear why that was a struggle so that they can understand, like, when they're having that struggle too, it's not just them.
No. And I think, so what happened is me and my cohort mate, Tisha, we started talking after work or after hours. Like, she would call me on her way home from work, or she'd come over and we'd sit on the couch and we'd just have these conversations. And we're like, we work from a narrative framework. So we named it the 9 to 5, right? Like, that's how we make sense of this life, right? It's hard. This job be really killing us sometimes. Sometimes we want to quit this. Okay. Like, we don't want to be in it. It's over for us, right? And so we started having these very funny conversations around suicide, but we weren't calling it that. We were calling it something else. And it came to like, why don't we tell people this? How come I didn't want to tell my therapist? because I didn't want her to know.
Yeah.
Period. So people ask this question constantly, I think, after somebody completes suicide. They say, well, I didn't know. Oh my gosh, like how could you know? They didn't want you to know.
Yeah.
And look, Myra knows. If I want you to know something, I'll tell you.
Straight up.
I'm an open book about pretty much everything except for that.
Yeah.
That is the one thing that, and it comes with a lot of issues, like a lot of reasons behind it is mainly because, like, who wants somebody to worry?
Mm.
Right? I love my family. I don't want them to worry. And as a therapist, look, I don't want to worry my therapist neither.
Wow.
Right? Because I know she cares about me. So therefore, I'm not having the conversation that I desperately need to be having, and it spiraled bad and fast and furiously. And so between Tisha and I, we were like, you know what? We need to talk to some therapists about this. We really do. We did not like but as us, because we in the group, gang, right? Like this is us. We who we are the therapists that are also going through this. So why can't we unmask just for a second, mask off, right? Like we're gonna take this mask off for a second and let you see what the real is.
Yes.
The
Wow.
real is, it looks like this. It looks like me laughing and dancing and smiling and having a good time and literally not wanting to live at the same time.
Same time. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Like, no, I think that as you're talking about this, like you said, like you're a therapist, and as a therapist, you're worried about your therapist in your space of where you're supposed to have this space to be able to discuss these things, right? And so that's with your therapist, like have any, like your family and friends, like those close people outside of Tisha, that's her name, outside of her, right? Like, have you mentioned this to anybody else, and do they know about your story?
Yo, I have a story, but I can't. It's too close of a group, but so I'm gonna leave names out so that they can't. But I had a rough time, y'all. And you know, for those people who don't have these feelings, it scares them. It terrifies them. Right? I definitely wasn't going to share this with my mom at first because I already know, like, I'm her child, right? So I started talking to my partner, my husband, scared the bejesus out of my partner, was completely like, what in the world? We got to do something. I can't. And I'm like, no, I'm fine. I don't need you to worry. I just need to talk about it. But I couldn't even talk about it because people were like, we got to jump in and do something real fast.
Fix it. Let's
fix it. And I'm like, you're not going to fix it. You're just not going to fix it. Like it's not going to, it's broken. It's beyond repair at this point. Like it's something that I have struggled with my entire existence. You're not going to come in here and fix it with any kind of intervention, right? Like it just was a thing. But then it was in the understanding of with my daughter, right? I had this conversation just recently, not too long ago. And we were talking about it, and she was like, I get it, Mom. I said, okay, what's up? What do you get? She's like, people on their deathbed after they've been in hospice for a long time, right? A very long time. And that they're just holding on for you. What do you tell those people? Tell them it's okay to let go. Mm-hmm. You comfort them. You tell them it's okay to let go. But when it comes to this, people are trying to hold you into this. They're trying to keep you here. They're trying, right? Like they're trying to keep you here. They're trying to, do everything they can, put you in hospitals. They're trying to do all these things that keep you here. And she's like, I just don't know. It sounds sad. And I was like, yeah, and it's very isolating because those people who complete suicide are usually alone. They do it by themselves. They don't have a loved one saying it's okay for you to let go. Ooh. Right? So in that conversation was a lot of healing for me. Like this idea of being seen, being heard. And this is just a recent conversation. Like I'm on this healing journey always. Just trying to figure out if that one day it's gonna happen. And my conversations with Tisha are very, like, we're very frustrated with the system. So it gives us something to fight about and be angry about together, because these conversations should be able to be couched with your therapist, without your therapist going, let me call PERT 911. Because at the end of the day, this is my life, my life to live or not live if I don't want to. It's my life, right? And people say like, and this came out in the video that we did. It was just like this is what is the saying? It's like it's a permanent solution to a temporary problem.
I hate when people say that.
And I effing hate this with a passion.
Wait, what's the saying?
Suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. Think about those words and how invalidating or like belittling of somebody's life experience to say,
it's a temporary.
Oh, yeah, you got a temporary problem. And I'm like, bruh.
What about the people that's been battling this their whole life? How temporary is it when it's been 15, 20, 30 years? That's temporary?
Temporary. That's temporary. And right, as Black women, like we definitely ain't talking about this because that definitely strips down the strong Black woman, mantra. And there's nothing wrong with that. But here's the thing I think about this, and I don't know, I'm going to ask you all about this, is we talk about that, right? But we take care of ourselves the least. So is not taking care of yourself the least to the point to where you get a blah, 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 and you die. Is that also a part of that trope that we're not talking about?
Are you saying that you're not taking care of yourself to the point that your pet, like they're dying? I'm confused a little bit.
Yeah. Like, like we don't take care of ourselves and then
talk about this.
We get diabetes, we get, all these other things, right? Because we're not caring for ourselves.
Right.
So if you're not caring for yourself, what is that called? Right? But we're strong, mind you, strong, doing everything for everybody else, taking care of everybody else for everybody else, but ourselves. So we're not taking care of ourselves. So I don't know, like these are just like thoughts that I be processing, with different folks here and there. I was just curious, what do you think about it?
I think that it needs to be talked about more because now I think I'm kind of frustrated with this idea of self-care because everybody's talking about taking freaking bubble baths and getting your nails painted and getting a facial. And I'm quite honestly sick and tired of it. Like, it makes me just not even want to have conversations about self-love and self-care because I'm like, y'all don't even know what this shit even means. Like, true self-care is making sure that you're putting yourself first and managing what you got going on, checking in with yourself. If you're feeling suicidal or lonely, like feeling like you can talk to a therapist, that is what true self-care is. Taking yourself to the doctor when something is going on, not saying like, oh, I'm not gonna go right now because I gotta attend to such and such and such and such. Like having one of my clients, oh my gosh, she was having a pain in her breast for a year. And she was like, I just have so much stuff going on. I don't have time to go to the doctor. It's going to take too long. Then what if I find out something's wrong with me? Then that's going to take even longer. Then I'm
like, what? Right.
Finally went. Nothing was wrong with her. And now she doesn't have the pain. I'm like, lady, you could have went and talked to the doctor. That was stress. But instead of you talking to the doctor about it, you sat in pain. I told her, look, you talk about going on these walks and taking these bubble baths and burning incense. That's not self-care, lady. You need to take care of you, like what it really means to take care of you. I feel like that's how me and Candy built our relationship of me being like, I need to talk to somebody. So I'm gonna call her and I'm gonna see what she says. And then that wound up me going to her house for 5 hours at a time, being fed, loved on, and feeling connected to someone and just being able to cry in her arms. Yeah. That's self-care. She didn't give me no bubble bath. She hugged me.
And see, and that's the part of the therapy that I wish I could be doing with clients, right? Like when you come in and you share something like this 9 to 5 is too hard. Like I've tried everything. I've tried going to HR. I've tried, changing my schedule. I've tried all these things. And it's just like, whoa, it's just too much. I need to check out of this. And to have somebody just say, you're right. Your 9 to 5 is fucking shitty. It's shitty. And you know what? 9 times out of 10, most people have to work this 9 to 5 for many different reasons. And so you're going to have, you're enduring this. Yeah. And that sucks. Yeah. Right? Versus, oh, why don't we try this? Why don't we try that? Why don't you try this?
Yeah.
You know, I just, it's so unhelpful. It's so unhelpful. And I'm like, I think we just lost it in the craft of just holding people, holding them, being with them. And I think there's something beautiful with saying, like, you know, it's okay to let go if that's what you need to do. Obviously we can't do that, right? We can't. And I understand that very clearly. But also there's something about being like, yeah, no, I get it that you want to let go.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it sucks.
Yeah.
You know, it may not get better, you know, and that's validating, because what most people want to tell you is that, no, this is just temporary. It's going to get better. You wait and see. And then people be waiting and seeing, miserably and unhappily and sadly alone, because now they can't even talk to you about it because they already know what you're going to say.
I think we need to use that language to the other person, like the language around folks' experience. And I always tell my clients, like, you tell me the language. Like, I'm not going to say anything that you didn't say, and I'm going to write it down. And then whenever I repeat something to them or say something to them, make a statement, I'm always like, and so what you said was, and I use their language. So if we're saying a permanent solution to a temporary problem, I really want to be challenging us to let the other person say that. If they decide to say that, that's their language and you follow it. Across the board, though, let folks have their own language to their experience. Note that language and use their language, because that's how you really join people.
But joining people is scary, right? Especially if it goes against what you believe to be true, that life is everything, you know, you have to keep doing it. So if you're under those ideas, then the way that you do things are going to be different, right? But it's not about you and what you think. It's about them and what they think. It's about me and what I think. It's not about what you think about my life.
I mean, yeah. I mean, that's what it ultimately comes down to. Like, that is a personal, independent choice that people make, you know? And I think even hearing talking about this, your natural instinct is to be like, no, life, it has ups and downs and ebbs and flows, and you will get out of it. Like, you do want to do that, you know? And I think it is kind of like the physical health piece of, like, sometimes people will say, like, just let go, but a lot of times they won't. And you would let your loved one, like, sit here in pain because you don't want to feel what happens once this person is gone, right? Because that is what is happening for you, but this is their personal choice, right? And it's interesting to even think about, like a world design where that's a choice for someone. Like, it's cringy. It is.
It is.
It is a choice.
It is, but right now it's not a talked about choice. Like, it's not a norm choice to be like, oh yeah, if that person, if they want to, you know, die by suicide, go ahead. Like, if that's your choice, go ahead. That's not what is talked about right now. So even saying, like, the fact that could be a possibility, right? And like what we're talking about it, where it's like, oh yeah, that's their choice type of thing. It's cringy. It is.
Yeah. And cringiness creates discomfort, which creates silence, which creates they just gonna do it.
And
you know what I mean? Like, they just go into a room and, you know, like, we've seen in the media over and over again. And the question everybody asks is, oh my gosh, like, what was going on? Why didn't we know? Yeah. Word. Why would someone who feels like this or like me want to share with you?
Right.
Because you won't get it. You won't understand. You know, you're just not going to get it. And here's the thing, like, I'm all about that part too, like the cringiness, like acknowledging, like, this is cringy. This is scary, and it's a little, but I'm here. I want to hear what you have to say. I never want to leave that. Like, what is it about that? Like, let's talk about it. Let's talk about the cringiness. What do you think's over there? What do you think's next?
Yeah.
What is that piece that you think you're going to have? Like, but no, we can't even get to that conversation because it stops the minute it's like, boom. I know I've been in this position. I'm the HR I am the HR of the 9 to 5 in my therapy job, right? Like, we know that there are things that we have to do. So therefore, as soon as somebody says something, you gotta do your HR job. And sometimes I find myself in this HR job, like being like, yeah, this ain't it.
Yeah.
This ain't it. This, because I don't know. In a lot of ways, like my family has become very supporting me in this journey of whatever the life I want to have or don't have. And it's been easy. And as you can see, I'm still here lifing and life away. But there's freedom in being able to have a conversation out loud instead of by myself in my own thoughts, with my own thoughts, all alone, for fear that I'll worry someone or make somebody unhappy. I think that's the key. Right? Who wants to make people unhappy?
Yeah. I'm curious, as you reflect, were there any specific supports that you like wish that you had or that you wanted from people around you, like throughout your life?
Yeah. Yes. I just wanted somebody to see me. And now that I think about the turtle, it was probably pretty hard for them to see. Right? But you know why they didn't see? Because they didn't ask. They made assumptions about my smiley and shiny exterior and just left it at that. So I think a lot of times I wish I had had a place where I could talk, where they would see me and see that, like, oh, no, she's shiny and she's sad. She's shiny and she has really had a hard life. And like, I really would love to have somebody acknowledge like that 9 to 5 is sucky. Like that was super important to me. Like, no matter, they're like, but Candy, you have kids, but Candy, you have a career, but Candy, you have a loving partner, Candy, you have a loving husband, Candy, you have all these things. And I'm like, yes, and what does that have to do with the price of the fact that I don't feel good? You're telling me all these things that I already know that I have, and yet
still don't feel good.
I still don't feel good. How many people have gotten into successful places and they're just like at the top of their life and they're just like, it's lonely up here and isolating and it doesn't feel good. And people, but you make millions of dollars. Millions of dollars don't make people happy. They don't make people want to live any longer than people with $0.
Yep.
Like, that's the thing about it. It's not that. It's not that. And I wish I had, friends that I could back then, because, that would just understand that, like, that's life for me. And at the end of it would be like, oh, okay, that's life for her. And because here's the thing, those folks, the folks that are in my circle, if that would be a choice of mine, they wouldn't be like, I didn't know. They wouldn't say that because they would have known. They would have had this conversation. They would have known I was struggling. They would have known I was sad. They would have known. But the only people who engage with my shiny, that's all they know. And there will be the ones going, oh my gosh, what happened? I didn't know.
Now that's,
I don't know. That, to me, that's cringy.
Yeah, that's very cringy. Yeah.
And it's a crazy, I get the cringe but I feel like nobody wants to be cringed anymore. They don't want to get uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Especially as a Black woman.
That's where the growth happens too. Uncomfortability
Right.
is the growth. That's where it typically happens. Yeah.
Especially as a Black woman, my mom is like, girl, if you don't go to sleep and take a nap and wake up different tomorrow.
To take a nap. Go lay down. Oh my goodness.
Go lay down. You better drink some herbal tea.
Go drink some water. What? Oh.
Literally, I'm just like, none of, look at Myra, that doesn't work. Thanks, Mom. And they mean well. Like, I'm not even trying to like say they're not. They absolutely mean well. But like, okay. Well, if you just got rid of the I'm like, okay, I got rid of that. Now what? What's next?
Mm-mm.
It's it's a very it's just a nuanced conversation. It's complex, it's sensitive, it's hard, you know. I think that we just need to keep having them and like piecing through them. So I guess for Tisha and I, it was really important to make it visible to our in crowd, right? Like, especially therapists. I'm like, yo, like your reactions is forcing people to not tell you things.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And your reaction is yours for you because you're uncomfortable and you're scared. You're scared. But as scared as you are, imagine what your client is feeling when they go home after not telling you anything alone. I don't know. It's like such a crazy convo to have.
I'm appreciating this convo because it's just making me reflect on like some of my clients who I've done some of the things that you've said and I've questioned myself. Like I noticed, because at one point I was working with a lot of military vets, higher suicide rates, right? And it was like this level where they felt so comfortable that I felt uncomfortable, and I would be worried about my responses. And so I would do a lot of what you're saying of leaning into it with them. But in the back of my head, I'd be like, Myra, should you be like calling 911? Should you be telling them you're going to do this, this, and that? And I would just sit with it. And I would have this internal battle of me saying that is going to do what right now? It's going to be harmful. But at the same time, I'm thinking about, am I going to lose my license? Like, what's going to happen? Am I going to get in trouble for this? Like, and I would keep doing what I was doing of sitting in it. And it would continue to feel uncomfortable, but they would continue to share. And it would be this odd experience of, I've never done this before, so I'm going to tell you even more. And I'd be just really battling with, so now I really should be calling somebody, but I wouldn't do it. And more they share, I really should be calling somebody. And it got to the point, one of my clients, we're done now, but he was like, I never did that before. And all I was searching for. Thank you. I feel like I can go on about my day and I can continue to have these conversations. And now I'm going to use my platform to push other people to have these conversations. So I'm thankful for you just saying that, because I literally have been having like this ongoing battle in my head of, should I be calling somebody right now? Should I send somebody out for a welfare check? Like, what should I be doing? And never doing it, because following my gut, but my mind saying something so different where it's just hard to sit in that.
So well, hard. as you see, you're managing not only your client stuff, but you're managing your own stuff. Like your whole livelihood depends on this. And I think that's where Tisha and I are very angry with the systems that we're in. Right. The systems that we're in that allows for it to be our fault and our responsibility for someone else's life. Right. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I understand what a sensitive place that we're in. Like, it is sensitive. It is really important. But like, it almost puts handcuffs on how we can help. Right. Like, and here's the thing, at the end of the day, you're battling. I hear you. You're like, my good job. Am I going to lose my license? If I just continue to listen, what if something bad comes out of this? They're going to investigate me. It's going to be my fault. But I'm like, how can it be your fault? This is me. I'm saying this to you. How could it be your fault when it was my decision?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that is like, you know, for Myra, like for you, I'm glad you got to experience that side of it, meaning for that client, it was helpful. Right. But yeah, like Candea saying, if it would have been the latter and that client would have, you know, killed themselves, then all these other pieces then come out, where then it becomes like, oh, well, you didn't follow this law and ethics, and now like you could lose your license, you got to go to court and all of this stuff because this person made a personal, independent decision and you gave them the space to talk about it, right? Like at this point, like, because with my clients, and I think that therapists should do that more too, I give them a few different cases. Like, you can come in session and if you say your life is horrible and you feel like you want to die, like I give them actual scenarios. But if they tell me I'm going to kill myself, then I have to, because I'm a therapist. I have to, like, I literally have to, right? But like, I feel like giving them examples at least help. but I can't, as a therapist, like tell them, or after they then say, I'm going to kill myself, continue the conversation as if they didn't. And like, that's just what I have to follow right now. But what I'm thinking about though is like, as a friend or a close loved one, then you then get to step in it differently. And at least in those spaces right now, that could at least be happening, right? If we're not able to completely, I mean, and I do recognize that people come to therapy for that. That's the hope, but we can't change the system completely today. But I'm even talking right now, and people who are listening, maybe that will encourage them, if they are listening to a friend or family, to open up that space a little bit more, because they have, they have more of the leeway. We don't, unfortunately we don't. But I'm glad that you got that experience though, that you did get to see it that way, But that's just something I'm thinking about, of my own personal way that I've chosen to do it. And luckily, from what I know as well, I haven't had a situation where that's happened and I've been investigated or something, Actually, I have had a past client that I know about that's passed away from suicide. And because they were my client at the time, I wasn't investigated or whatever, because then you got families too, because that's what I'm thinking about. Like, okay, they made the personal decision and we don't know exactly, but that client could be perfectly glad that they got to talk to you about it. Their last moments, they got to finally share it, right? But then their families are like, who was talking to them? That was that therapist, or they want answers, right? And so that's when the people around them actually, they're caring about getting justice or whatever, when it's really like, that's what they wanted. That's their justice. But I'm rambling, but these are just some thoughts I'm having.
No, I mean, but these are thoughts that we all like at some point have. And I'm like, and the nuance of it is I'm a Black therapist and I know that, right? So there's like so many implications to what it means to 5150 a Black client. Like, what does that mean? Like when you have law enforcement show up, or you have like, it's just like there's so many other layers to the whole situation that feels like ick. It's now that gives me cringe. Like the fact that we're having to negotiate and navigate with people's families around somebody's personal show gives me cringe. Like that's the cringy part of this work, is like it's super cringy and you can't, there's like, so now we just like, so what happens is now we just have clients that aren't sharing. They're just not going to share because they know the game. The game is the game. They know how to play it. Like Uno, like draw four. They like, okay, I'm going to say this because I know I hear that. When I hear the sirens in the background, I'm going to get ghost. You know what I mean? Like I'm going to go, like I'm out. And so like our clients, they know that. And so I don't know if what we're doing is helpful or not, but it's like I guess it's just examining like what is, with them and being with them and what isn't, and it's just a hard thing. Suicidality is, but it is taking people. It is, people are choosing this. And I wonder, like, if we're really wanting to be helpers, like, what does that mean for us? Like, I don't know. Like, for me, as somebody who is I'm like on two sides of the coin, it just keeps me in this like reflective state.
Yeah. I'm curious your thoughts on how you separate suicidal ideation from harmful, intrusive thoughts.
Yeah, to me, they're like very different. One is like a passing thought that comes and goes. Yep. One is not. One is just with you all the time. Like like Midas from, what's that? Y'all watch
Snoopy?
Yes.
Where he had a little cloud over him all the time. No matter what. That dude be smiling and having a good time, but the clouds still be there. That's to me what that is. Is the difference between that. One is like a train kind of coming to a station. You can kind of follow it and then it can go wherever it's going to go. But one is just like, I'm sorry, I'm a visual person. Like this is how
So the train is the intrusive thoughts, and then the ideation is kind of
just like right there. It's like right there. It's right there.
Yeah. That is a great explanation. And that was actually a question of mine, because I think that a lot of times, not only clients, but just people, like we all have just random thoughts sometimes, right? and they can be fleeting. But if they happen, you might be like, wait, am I experiencing suicidal ideation? Is this what's happening for me? Or is this just a passing thought, right? And so that's what made me ask this question. But I love your explanation about like the suicidal ideation. A lot of times it's there. You feel it at a lot of times, right? It's not necessarily fleeting as much.
Yeah, because sometimes these intrusive thoughts, they come, but I think that you have some sort of control or power over it, right? Sometimes you can like follow the thought. Like I'm like, are you the conductor of your thoughts? Who's the conductor of your thoughts, right? Your thoughts, if you jump in the conductor seat, you get to follow the thought wherever you want to go, right? Or you could jump off at any station. What station is it that you want to live? This is me in my world. Like I have to like touch things and see it. With the suicide, it's more like I think of it like a part, like it's always with you. It's always there. It's always like, you know what? Life is not great. But here's the thing, it's not lying to you. Sometimes intrusive thoughts cannot be true, right? Life isn't always that great, and that's can be true most of the time. So it's like, I don't know, that's how I make sense of them. One is just kind of with you all the time, and one kind of you can go, but you can control it sometimes if you're aware of it.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. Okay, so today's episode, we have covered a lot, and I think that this topic, like it needs to be a continuous conversation, right? So hopefully this episode at least gets people starting to sit in the uncomfortability, sit in the cringy feelings, and all the things. But do you have any takeaways for our listeners?
I think the takeaways that I really have are like the myth has been debunked, okay? Like talking about suicide is not going to make somebody want to commit suicide. So have the conversation. Be uncomfortable. Be with people, be with your friends and your family, and don't let them worry about it. You let them know that you're not worried. You just want to be with them. Or like, there's that quote that's like, check on your strong friend. I'm like, nah, check on your funny friend.
Yeah.
Check on your I'm good friends, right? Because listen, we know what I'm good means. I'm good doesn't always mean I'm great, right? Like it doesn't mean the same. So check on your I'm good, yeah, I'm great friends. But more than likely just check on your friends, period. Like check on them. Get past the shell. See what's inside. What's the substance inside? You can get shimmied into, or you could get seduced by the little shiny shell. But like, are you examining? Have you even asked them about their bad times or their bad days? Are you curious with them? So I think that's my takeaway is like, this is a myth. If you think that having this conversation is going to create suicide in someone's life, it's not. So, I mean, it's been statistically proven that it's an uncomfortable conversation, yes. And you need to be having them with your friends, even the ones that appear to be the most happy in the world.
Thank you for that.
Absolutely.
Thanks for having me, y'all.
No, and I feel like I said a million times, these conversations are important. And so as someone, everyone kind of leans on you because you can play a lot of different roles. You could be cousin, sister, auntie, mama, all the things, right? It's important for also us to give you the space to share your story so that way other Black women who do the same things can recognize it's important to have these conversations and to just hear your voice and feel that they're joined by someone, even if they don't have that person in their life. It's important.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Yes, thank you so much. So we hope you all were engaged in this episode, and sitting in this cringiness, uncomfortable conversation with us. I mean, really, my reflections is just as Candea was talking about, like just having the conversations more with people, but also as a therapist, I would say for therapists to give more examples as much as possible. So even if we can't like if a client tells us I'm going to kill myself, we cannot continue with conversations legally. Giving examples of them even being able to just share the thoughts that they're having, right? Because I think a lot of times the clients will come in and they'll think anything that has to do with suicidal ideation, anything that has to do with suicide at all, I can't speak about. But that's not necessarily true either. So for clients, y'all can ask more questions, because therapists are different. Some therapists are different. Some therapists, like Candea was talking about, get super uncomfortable as soon as you say anything about like life is hard and I wish I wasn't here. But then there are some therapists who will allow you to go dive into that a lot deeper, and then not be like this 51-50 situation. So I would say, as clients, ask questions. What's your policy, around suicidal ideation, attempts, all this stuff. Ask questions. Yeah. And yeah, continue to grow by having these conversations. That would be my reflections. What about you, Myra?
I agree completely. And I'm sorry if y'all misunderstood me. I do, have to call folks when clients do come to me. What I was trying to say was, I always create space to remain curious, to ask further questions and create space. Because of course I ain't trying to lose my license and I care. So yeah, I think that's pretty much the only thing I have to share. Yeah, I like how she says to check on your funny friends though, because I feel like that often goes over our heads to do that.
It does, interestingly enough, yeah. But we hope you enjoyed another episode with us, and we will see you all next Monday. Bye.